Hi, Aisha. And law enforcement investigators came to Nancy Guthrie's home late in the day yesterday for more evidence collection. And we want to show you something here that our Fox flight team noticed when they took to the air early this morning. This is a live picture from Nancy's back patio door, and it may not look like much, but what is significant here is what is not there. This is the location of that broken flood lamp that was mentioned in the first supposed ransom note. It is now gone. That could mean that when the FBI was here yesterday, that went with them as evidence. And we also saw this agent remove some kind of wired and mounted device from the side of the house. They spent time on the roof and in the garage as well. There was another search of the grounds and surrounding areas. Investigators were seen talking to neighbors again. They are continuing to collect door cam video from the community as well. And they stayed pretty late into the night. Our Fox flight team capturing these infrared images while the work was being done on the ground. This was shot around 9 o'clock last night when it was pitch black outside. The sheriff's department says it is aware of a second note sent to local TV news stations KOLD. The station did not reveal the content, but did say there was no proof of life of Nancy Guthrie. Here's one of their hosts.
I would say that this second one, it has a very, very similar, the way that it was put together was very similar. I will say that I don't think that they will classify this second one as a ransom note. There were deadlines in the first letter. The second one, there are no deadlines. You know, in my head, a ransom note is looking for something in return for something else, and this one is not necessarily that.
While on scene here, investigators also removed this blue Subaru in Nancy's garage and had it towed away. And Aisha, one last thing, there are no news conferences that are scheduled, so we're just going to have to wait for law enforcement to give us an update. Back to you.
Okay, Alicia Acuna live for us. Alicia, thank you so much. So joining me now with expert insight and analysis to help break down this case and all the new details we've gotten in the last couple of hours, former Greenville County Sheriff's Deputy Chad Ayers and defense attorney Donna Rotunno. Thank you both, Chad and Donna, for joining us. Chad, I want to go to you first because we've got this new letter that came into the family. No proof of life yet. We don't know if there's any communication with the family. It doesn't appear so. And we're approaching the second deadline. What has piqued your interest the most about this new letter? It doesn't sound like a ransom note, but it's another piece of information.
Yeah, actually, all of this is just becoming convoluted to me, as well as all the viewers, I think, across the country. The more these letters, notes start coming in, obviously this one, it sounds like came in from, like almost like a tip line to the news agency. It's totally different than what we've seen in the past. But again, we are not showing, if you truly want this money, all right, just seems like I'm not buying these letters because if truly this is a true ransom letter and your demand is X, Y, and Z of cryptocurrency, it is just basic procedures that you're going to want to have proof of life.
What do you mean you're not buying these letters? Like, you don't think they're real? They're not coming from the people who have her?
I really don't.
Wow.
I don't think these are really coming from someone. I'm afraid that this could be some elaborate overseas, group that is utilizing this in some sick fashion. I know a lot of conversations been had about the car coming from the daughter's house, and we know that her husband numerous times is, the name's been floating around. But I would find it very hard if you were involved in some type of plot. You've got all the family there, you've got law enforcement there. How are these things being sent out? I guess more of what I'm saying is it makes me believe so we're looking two sides here. If these are credible, I think that kind of leans towards the son-in-law not being involved. If they are credible, or if they are not credible, then maybe he is back in the picture.
Donna, what do you think? Do you think this letter is real? Do you think it's coming from the people that have her?
I mean, at this point, here's the problem. We don't have any other information other than what is being told to us, right? So at this point, all we know is that there are letters. Now, of course, there have been other letters where the law enforcement has determined that they are fake. There have been arrests. So I think at this point, law enforcement has determined that there's some scintilla of reliability in terms of these letters. So I think it's very difficult to say. Chad, is that a possibility that they're not real letters? And is there a possibility that someone is using this? Of course, that's always a possibility. But given the fact that we don't have anything else to go on, and the problem is if they are fake and law enforcement is spending all this time on it, they're not spending time on other things to move this case forward. So, this is a tough situation. The fact that we are 7 days into this, we don't know more than what we've talked about. And this is now the third time they're going back to that house. Why wasn't that lamp taken originally? I mean, if you had a broken lamp and the lamp was not broken before, wouldn't that be something that you would want to do testing on? If that car was part of some, issue, they knew she went in the garage. They had that information. They knew what time the garage door opened and they knew what time the garage door closed. Why wasn't that car an issue at the beginning? If there was electronic equipment on that roof, why is it the third time that you're going back? So, this is just one of those things that I think is playing out in a way that we have more questions than we have answers. And the more questions we have, we seem to be getting less answers.
We don't have proof of life yet. So, like you said, it's been 7 days. It's been a whole week now. Chad, do you think that she's alive?
I do not, and I've said that probably 2 days ago. And I hate to put it out here, but I've worked enough of these cases. Listen, when Harvey Levin or whoever came out and drew that picture right from the letter that they received, this is the distance that she could possibly be in based off of these letters. Listen, any criminal, there's too much of a risk to abduct someone, put them in a car and drive them 5 hours away. You risk being pulled over, you risk getting into a traffic accident, and then your plan goes to hell in a handbasket really quick. I just don't think anyone professionally, I believe if someone, and again, guys, we could dive in this for hours. When we look at the time frame from the cameras coming offline to then having movement in the front,
a long time.
You're almost 40 minutes. What's going on inside this residence? And we're not getting a lot of detailed answers. Listen, I appreciate and I respect the fact that there is some tight-lippedness around this investigation. There has to be. But the fact of the matter is, it does sometimes, the American people, we are all invested in this. It takes us, we've all been referencing, this has taken us back to the Kohlberger case. There's things going on behind the scenes, obviously, that the American people don't know. But the idea that she was taken 5 hours away, you are really rolling the dice on that. And personally, I just don't believe, unfortunately, that she's still alive.
Well, and I kept hearing questions too, whether she's been taken across the border. I mean, it could be, she could be anywhere at this point. I thought the president gave us a pretty big clue last night aboard Air Force One. I'm going to play this sound for you and pay attention to where he's talking about a solution here. And the language he uses, I thought was very interesting. Listen here.
Is this a nationwide search? Is this a search going on?
I'm not talking about a search. I'm talking about a solution. We have some things I think that will maybe come out reasonably soon from DOJ or FBI or whoever that could be
Suspect?
Yeah, could be definitive.
So Donna, if you hear, he says, I'm not talking about a search. I'm talking about a solution. And that to me, it's one or two things. What Chad said, that there's no more search because they know what has happened, unfortunately, or there's no more search because they know where she's at.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's interesting too. I'm sure law enforcement that's trying to remain tight-lipped, if all of that is true, I'm sure they're thrilled that the president of the United States is going out there and making these statements. I hope that's the case. I hope they have answers. That was a little cryptic in the sense that, he gave us some information about the fact that it seems to be moving forward, but is it really, right? So we just don't know.
Yeah. Chad, just to wrap things up, the fact that they're not having any more news conferences until something major develops. There's been questions about, local law enforcement. Why did they release the property so soon? They went back then and looked at the vehicle on the property. Just your overall thoughts as we head into now week 2 of this as to how local law enforcement have handled this, and we know the FBI is helping, but how they've handled this.
Aisha, I'm very careful to Monday morning quarterback a law enforcement agency's job. But I think, and this is just completely speaking on facts, thank God that the FBI is there. The sheriff's admitted it. He probably delayed reaching out for assistance a little bit too long. Listen, we just heard yesterday where the pilot was basically was disciplined for a period of time and sent back to uniform patrol. They didn't even get a plane up for multiple hours. We're already behind the 8 ball there. I feel like unfortunately the sheriff's, this is a chaotic case, and he's probably going on lack of sleep. I think anything moving forward, needs to come directly from the Bureau. I think right now digital evidence is probably being analyzed, and they are tracking digital evidence at this time. That's why we keep seeing them going back. Again, the FBI brings in their crime scene units and technology that is way more advanced than local law enforcement agencies. That's what's probably going on now while the follow-up searches. Let's sit back. Hopefully we get some answers soon.
I'm trying to track down who's sending these letters. We'll see. Stay close as this story develops. We could have a crack in this case any moment now. So Chad, Donna, thank you so much.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.